Hello, this is Yellowtail Gaming, aka Nick K, aka that guy that always leaves his wallet out in the car. And today I wanted to talk to you about the upcoming Rise of Iron DLC. If you're watching this video, you obviously know what it is, or you're trying to learn about it, but you get the basic idea of it. So, that's not what this is about. This is about the hype concerning the Rise of Iron. And obviously, since I'm putting that title on there, I don't think that the hype is deserved. Not to say I'm not excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's bringing very greatly needed new content into Destiny, including a raid, which we've been waiting for over a year. And we'll get to become Iron Lords, these legendary figures. But there's more to it than that. If we look back, I mean, not even looking back, this is year 3 of Destiny we're about to hit. I don't think a moderate DLC is enough to really propel the game like people think it's going to. If you look at what they showed, which hasn't been much, they've showed the Gjallarhorn and the Gjallarwing, which I don't like. I'll get to that later. They've showed the Plague Lands, which is just a reskinned Cosmodrome. They've shown the Fallen Splicers. And that's about it. I mean, yeah, we have Fellwinter's Peak, which is going to be interesting, having a new social space, but I haven't seen enough to convince me that this is going to be a great DLC or expansion like the Taken King was. You look at what Taken King did to the game. We had Destiny, then we had Dark Below, and then we had House of Wolves. And the biggest issue people had with that was its story and the loot drop mechanics. People didn't like that you couldn't really get to the peak of the game, and you couldn't really figure the game out just by playing alone. You had to group up, or you had to go and explore some weird crevices and whatnot to really start piecing things together about the story, and you had to dig into Grimoire cards, which people didn't like. And loot drops were, they were extremely hard to get, and the ones you might get weren't real good, or, so on and so forth. And the Taken King came out and revolutionized the way we play the game. When it's going into story, they added cutscenes. I mean, they made Cayde 6 from this kind of chattery, jokey robot that sat at a table every time you logged in, to this living character that is unanimously loved by the community. And they added quest lines, so the story missions weren't just a bunch of random stories stuck together. They had reason to play them. You had a story behind it about why you were doing this stuff. And for the loot, they made it so that the max leveling system worked differently. They made loot drops more frequent. They made loot drops the infusion style stuff, so you could get crappy old weapons and make them really good weapons. And it just changed the way people felt about the game. And then until the April update, there was nothing. We got the raid to drop in October, then there was nothing. And now everyone's getting hyped up about the Rise of Iron. I just don't think it's enough. From what I've seen, they're going to be pushing the light level to 355, and they're adding a new social space. Other than that, there's not much going into it. You could argue that the Taken or the Devil Splicers are a new enemy type, which are going to be a unique fighting force, and I guess. But from what I've seen of them, you know, the fighting the Dregs and Vandals, Shanks, and the fistful of other enemies that they found in the Cosmodrome during the stream, there were only two things that jumped out to me as being new. That was that precision hits, precision kills spawned a little like Seeker death orb that ran off after whoever killed it. And that fallen servitors now have a 5-round burst instead of the single shot. Cool, yes, but it doesn't rework the way you have to fight them in the same way that being taken changed them, you know? They no longer they didn't get these crazy abilities to go along with this stuff. It's just there are a couple of the basic game mechanics that are a little bit different, but they haven't even been changed to the point where it really matters. Then you look at another thing they've shown, which they have spent a large amount, a very large amount of the time that they have been presenting, streaming this stuff. They spent a lot of that time on the Gjallarhorn and the Gjallarwing, both of which I do not like. The Gjallarwing, I feel, is extremely superficial, extremely pandering. There's no real reason I can see to it being in the game other than they're just like, hey, look at what we did. Now you can drive a Gjallarhorn. You know that thing everybody liked? Well, now you can drive it. Ooh, wow. Great. I would have preferred to see a new strike or something in the 20 minutes they spent talking about that. But they didn't show that. They showed the Gjallarhorn. Then you move to the Gjallarhorn. It's loved by many and hated by many also. In year one, if you're not familiar, the Gjallarhorn was the game. If you did not have the Gjallarhorn, there were many times you would be excluded from playing with people because you were frankly weaker. There was no other way to put it. If you did not have the Gjallarhorn, you were not as strong as the other people were. And there were no other weapons that had that kind of power, that potential to change the game behind them. And when they took it out of the game, people complained, sure, but I think that they took it out for the betterment. And even bringing it back, they said it's going to be the same gun. That means it's going to have the Wolfpack rounds, it's going to have the tracking, and it's probably going to have the hidden grenades and horseshoes. And even if they balance it out so that the Wolfpack rounds deal less damage, or there isn't much blast radius, or whatever they do to it, I still think it's going to be far above the current exotic pool. The current exotics, I think, fit very well into the game, where most of them are situational weapons, where you pick them up. You know, I'm going to go fight the Hive, so I'm going to pick up the Zalo Supercell because I know I'll get a bunch of double and triple kills. Or I got to burn a boss down, so I'm going to take the Sleeper Simulant, even though the Sleeper Simulant isn't very good other places. They're good at what they do. And if you use them right, they are very powerful weapons. But you could very well equip a legendary and still get by. The Gjallarhorn does not fit that mold. The Gjallarhorn is good at everything. It is a boss burner. It was an ad clearer. It had high ammo. It was a fast rocket launcher. There was no downsides to using that weapon. And that's my main problem with bringing it back, is it was so powerful. I just don't think bringing it back is the right move. The moral of all this, though, isn't that you should hate what's coming. Quite contrary to that, instead, demand more. Demand more. You know? Not say, oh, it'd be cool if we saw some more, or I'd like to see some more of that. Demand to see more. And if there's nothing else for them to give us, then we know that it is not good enough. And we can demand it be better. However, if you get overly hyped at what would appear to be nothing, then they can just keep marketing nothing, and people will still get it. Until they show me that the light level is going to be a lot higher. You know, it's not 355, it's 400, or it's, 450, or whatever it is. Whatever it'll be. Going, well, we really changed how the Vandals work. Now their sniper rifles can chain between targets. Or, just even so far as this is Felwinter's peak. You can do this, this, and this here. Look at it, enjoy it. And I will be happy with that. However, what they've shown and what I know about Rise of Iron right now, for heading into year 3, the third year of what is supposed to be a 10-year franchise, which I imagine they'll milk a bit longer than 10 years. They'll try to push it as far as they can. But it needs to be big. Very, very big. Not adding a raid big. Not 3 or 4 more story missions big. Not 2 new strikes big. It needs to be Taken King big. Rework how the game plays, what you do with the game. Well, that's about it for this. If you have any questions you want answered, please leave a comment down below. Obviously, like and subscribe. Until then, or until next time, just thank you and goodbye.